One of the things that I hear most often when I talk to couples about their wedding photography is we feel so awkward in front of the camera, or we're not used to taking pictures. And when I hear this, my eyes light up and I get really excited because I know that my approach is oftentimes going to be a really good fit. Of course, there's models out there or people who are just really comfortable posing in front of the camera, but that's not most people, right? Most people aren't used to being in front of the camera all the time. And so my approach is a little bit different. Rather than trying to mold you into place, into the perfect position, and then get you to put on this, big smile, I prefer to focus more on authenticity and action and movement. So what does that look like? Well, rather than having you stand still and stiff, I love to start with things where there's a little bit more movement and motion, whether that's walking, holding hands, even slow dancing, or doing things that just have more movement to it so you don't feel stiff. Oftentimes, if you're not moving and you're trying to smile, your body, all the muscles just tense up more and more every second. And I know that, that's not really going to be an authentic picture. Sure, you might have a smile on your face, and you might be positioned well, but when you look back at that photo, you're going to feel how you felt in that moment, which wasn't like you were authentically having fun. It was like, I'm trying to perform happiness for the camera. And that's really not what I'm going for in my work. So rather than trying to manipulate you into this perfect position that I know is going to be aesthetically pleasing for a photo, what I like to do is give direction that brings out those authentic emotions, that allows you to connect. So, oftentimes with couples, that's walking together, holding hands, telling each other specific things that you love about each other, or remembering and reminiscing on very specific dates that you had, which bring up those authentic memories of happiness and joy. And then when that comes out, I know that it's up to me as a photographer to make sure that I'm doing my job to position the picture well, to handle the composition, to make sure I'm leveraging lighting well. But what's most important to me is making sure that those authentic emotions and that real joy is coming through. And so everything I do is, I'm never going to try to manipulate things in a way that would take away from that authentic experience and take away from that real emotion. That's what, for me, makes the best images, is when you can look back at that and feel happiness, and when you can put yourself back into that place and remember how happy you were and the joy that you felt. And so it's really more about being present in that moment, and sometimes I'll even start there, and my approach can be really different depending on what each individual needs. So sometimes the energy is really high and there's nerves, and so for that, we really take a step back and slow down and think about what are we noticing with our senses. So what do we hear? Maybe we hear it's a first look, after the first look, and we hear birds chirping in the background, or we hear a stream with running water, or maybe it's after the reception and we're doing sunset photos and we hear our guests laughing and having a good time in the background. So finding ways of grounding and being present in that moment. Maybe I'd ask a couple to hold hands and notice what it feels like to hold that other person's hand. And all of these little things, engaging the senses, whether it's, the sound, the touch, the sight, these help to ground you in that moment and help you to feel present so that you can access that place of authenticity, and whether it's joy, excitement, whatever it is, we're getting you to that place where there's real emotion coming through, and you don't feel like you just have to put on a smile for the camera, because that's never going to be the most authentic experience. Of course, there's going to be times where, we're taking, whether it's family photos or whatever it might be, and you will be smiling for the camera, but my goal is that for the bulk of the day, you feel more like you're living your day rather than you're posing for the camera on your wedding day. And I know, that when people say that they felt like, there were times where I wasn't even there and yet they have photos of it all, I feel like that's when I've really done my job well, is that, they were so present, they were just enjoying the moment, and I was able to capture that without having to be the center of attention, because they were more engaged with the people around them than they were worried about giving a smile for the camera or anything like that. And I think that really is the heart of what I do as a wedding photographer, and what sets my approach apart, is that I really want to make sure that people are feeling present and they're able to enjoy the process rather than feeling like, they have to perform something for the camera throughout a wedding day. And I hope that helps as far as giving some insight to my approach. Would be happy to answer more questions about, what that might look like for your wedding day and your location and your guests. But really at a high level, it's all about being present and enjoying that experience rather than, performing something or trying to manipulate yourself to look a certain way for the camera.